So summer has officially concluded and we're well into the fall, so it is high time to introduce you all to our current herd and also our new teammates. If you haven't seen previous vlogs from us, say hello to Polly and Starro. These are the two mares we purchased back in May. Molly was from a trial we did at the Jorvik Equestrian Festival, and then Starro we picked up from Montana Ravensong at an auction hosted up at Fawn Lake Equestrian. After their quarantine periods in midsummer, these two joined us in late June. Polly definitely showed us that she can be fresh when she's been cooped up for a while thanks to that quarantine, and she had to learn that the other mares at the farm were not interested in chasing her around or being chased themselves. But now that she's in regular work, she's really relaxed and she just enjoys her turnout time. Thankfully, she also hasn't jumped out of any paddocks yet, like she did at her last owner's barn because she was so bored there. And I think if we keep her engaged enough, we'll be just fine. Starro, on the other hand, is really chill about absolutely everything. She was bullied by other mares at her last barn and had a really hard time having any kind of solace during turnout, so she just enjoys hanging out with the farm's mule right now. They really hit it off, and it's quite funny because Sugar, the mule, is normally pretty cranky around other horses or about them being near her, but something about Starro seems to really suit her. They're always together during turnout, and we're really glad they've bonded so well. So Sugar is a new face to you guys. She is the mule on the farm. She does do lessons sometimes, but she's very old, and she also doesn't really enjoy being tacked up by unskilled hands. Like if they have to try more than once to get the girth on, she gets pretty cranky. Definitely not a fan of giving kids learning opportunities. But once she's tacked up and she has somebody mounted in the saddle, she's fine to walk and trot around. The other horses on the farm, they're not owned by us or any of our team members. They're owned by the family that has this property and lets us use it in exchange for doing morning and evening feed for them. We also get to use their horses in the lessons, like Sugar, and there are 3 other drafts and draft crosses here. So Betsy is the biggest of the 3. She's a full Shire mare. She doesn't do any lessons as she is the farm's primary plow and carriage horse, so we don't use her on the team, but she's a friendly face in the barn, and the camp kids love giving her little nibbles of these little electrolyte treats that we make with them. It's just chopped up apples and carrots frozen in ice cubes, and sometimes we'll mix in an electrolyte mix in there, and they just drop it in her water bucket. But they just love seeing her kind of fish around in her water bucket for those little nibbles. Duke is the only gelding, and he is like a rose gray dappled coat color, and he's definitely a cross of some kind. He's very chunky and he's super patient under saddle. He practically won't move, though, unless he has either a lead line attached to him or a lunge line. We do use him in lessons for beginners like walk trot, but most of the time at that level we do have to put him on a lunge line so we can help keep him going. But upper level riders can get him up into a canter if they've got strong enough leg cues, and he will even jump, but mostly only when he feels like it. And Belle is our sweet dapple gray draft mare whose massive amount of feathers on her legs give her a lot of trouble in the summer, but unfortunately her owners they don't want to clip her, which is fine. We just have to make sure we regularly wash and dry her legs after turnout and also after she's ridden, because if we don't, then she gets really caked with mud and she can get scratches underneath those feathers. But if we keep them clean and dry, she's generally pretty comfortable. But she will do anything you ask, from walk to canter transitions up to jumping 2 feet. And yes, walk to canter transitions even with her stocky build. She really is able to get her hind end under her and push off to get that transition going. In late August, we actually adopted a stallion from Wild Hearts Rescue Network. Well, I guess technically I adopted him. And I know stallions are usually a bad idea for lesson programs, but this fella had already been in a lesson program. He just needed a new job after his barn closed down. And he behaves more like a gelding anyway. His name is Nugget, and he actually came with a show name of Happy Meal. But I think I'm going to change that. I'm kind of partial to Nugget a Gold or Golden Nugget, something like that, because he's got this like dark palomino sheen to his coat, and I think that would suit him. Plus, I think anything referring to him as a golden boy definitely suits his personality. So that's the team's horses so far. We've got quite the draft-heavy herd, but they are all such gems, and we're really happy to have all of them. Tryouts were held at the end of July. Technically, I guess they're not really tryouts because it was more so just like show up if you're interested in the team, and if you can afford a pair of padded boots and a helmet, then you're basically welcome to join. Of everyone that came out, we had 4 people stay. This is our full roster. We've got 7 riders aside from myself and Lou. And I'm going to go in order of like their levels and just give you kind of a brief introduction to each of them. Gabe Eastrock is in our walk trot division. He is completely new to the horses, but he took up so well with Belle. He's already falling in love with riding. His favorite part of barn chores is prepping feed, which I'm convinced is the nutrition major side of him. That's what he's majoring in, so it suits him. Catriona Gladewell is a returning rider who pointed up into novice last year. She had a setback after a ski accident over the summer, last year actually, but she had to stick with walk trot while she rehabbed. So she was getting into jumping, but she hadn't competed in jumping yet, so she still qualified for walk trot. She pointed up toward the end of last year's season, and she is super excited to get back into jumping. Anya Oakland is joining us as a new novice rider. She has extensive experience in dressage, but hasn't done any jumping. She hasn't done anything in the hunter world. She will likely be doing novice cross rails in her first shows, though. She's doing super well, has a very natural seat over the fences, and particularly when riding Polly, they really seem to suit each other. Poppy Stone Tower is joining us as a new novice rider as well. She's been in lessons off and on throughout her childhood, but had to take a long break during high school during the classic financial strain a lot of people find themselves in when they try to work with horses. She had to give up her lessons, but was able to get summer jobs as a stable hand and trail guide, so she did get to exercise horses on their off weeks and has been able to keep up her strength that way. But we're really happy to help her get back in the saddle regularly with more opportunities to develop her skills. Mia Maples is a returning rider moving up into Limit. She's primarily Western, as her family owns a ranch up near Fir Grove. So she really has a workman's riding position in the hunter ring. It doesn't get her a ton of ribbons, but she's one of the only riders on the team to never have had a refusal in a show. And I'm convinced it's because she never perches on the neck during a crest release. Mia has a really good following arm and elbow where she can give that automatic release easily. And although she's not picturesque per current equitation standards, we'd rather have a good rider than a pretty picture any day. River Seafall is another returning rider, and she absolutely slays in the equitation ring. She pointed out super fast last year, so she already has some points under her belt going into the season. She's a limit rider currently, so she may point up into intermediate in her first semester if we can attend as many shows as we're hoping to. River's favorite horse to ride is Duke. She can really get him going, and he will jump better for her than any of the rest of us. There's just something about her riding style that really meshes with his movement, and I'm really excited to see her progress in the season. And finally, we have Hilda Higale joining us as our only intermediate rider. Hilda has ridden and shown in hunters and equitation throughout her life, and she says she's looking forward most to riding horses from other schools in competitions. She's so used to just having her own show horse. that she's used to and that she knows. She's excited to have a different kind of challenge where she's not familiar with the horse she's going to be showing. But that about catches you up with our current roster and herd. So remember to subscribe below if you want to see more, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!